Good morning. You catch me with my tea. You catch me also having showered, washed my hair, and done nothing with it. Done nothing with it. There you go. Anyway, I suppose it would look much different had I done anything with it. To be fair, hope you're all right. It's Wednesday. I don't know what part of the country or the world or whatever you're in. I'm not sure we've gone worldwide yet, but it's awful in the northeast. It's a grey day. I mean, it is October. To be fair, this October. So it probably stands to reason that it's a bit like it is. Just getting rid of a few messages on my desktop there. Don't know what that's all about. Don't want things beeping too much. So yeah, no wonder it's like it is. It always makes me giggle. People go, "It's cold, isn't it?" Well, yeah, it's January. Do you know what I mean? It's usually cold in January. What are you on about? Well, it's a bit warm, isn't it? Yeah, it's July. I think it's the British obsession with the weather, maybe, isn't it? I suppose. So, just had my breakfast, drinking my tea. I've blogged on my Wasteland Substack thing about the weight loss, ticking my things off my list because we're talking today about day in, day out, what you do day in, day out, the importance of that. And what's on my mind at the minute is because we've got, I work at Sunderland University and we've got students just starting. And one of the things that I try and get over is there's no big monumental thing to do. There are things that we need to aim for and things we need to achieve. But when I say there's no monumental thing to do, what I mean is that the results that we achieve while we have placed a marker in the sand with our 10-year plan and our annual plan, and we've had a look and had to think about what we're going to do over the month and over the week. The reality is it's what we do day in, day out, minute by minute, moment by moment, hour by hour, that will get us to achieve those things that we've set up for ourselves. So in many ways, what we talked about last week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, what we've talked about so far this week, Monday, is setting the kind of framework, if you like, breaking it down, 10 years, 1 year, month, week, breaking it down. And now we're going to do some stuff. David Allen, favorite productivity guru, I mention him all the time. David Allen, brilliant strategist around workflow and that kind of thing, and getting things done. He says that you can't plan and do at the same time. They take different skills. They take different mindsets. And actually, I'd agree with that because completely, 100%. Because what we know is, or what I know is, from what I've done, and I think that's one thing that I often say, that all this stuff I'm telling you is stuff that I do. And the reason I know it works is because I've done it and it's worked for me. Now, that's not to say exactly the same things will work for you. You need to find your nuanced version of what I talk about, because your job role, your life, who you are will be very different. But the underlying principles remain the same. So you have to do the planning first, and then you get onto the doing. And the doing, I think lots of jobs these days, most jobs probably, require us to have a deep work attitude. Now, deep work is work that requires you to be focused 100% on that task to the exclusion of everything else. You can only do that if you are confident that everything else is kind of safe. I'll give you an analogy. I talked about this probably years ago now. I'll give you an analogy. I walk the dog on a morning. She's a rescue dog, so she's a bit feisty, and she's on alert all the time. She's conscious all the time, or conscious a lot of the time of her environment. Actively kind of a bit anxious all the time. And she goes about her business like this. She runs to the end of our drive here and horizon scans. And only once she knows that everything's safe within a particular distance does she get down to her business of the day, which is sniffing things, sniffing the grass and sniffing walls and sniffing lampposts. Dogs are like, and sniffing the bushes and all that kind of stuff. She gets down to business doing that. And then when she runs out of safe space, when she's done that for a while and runs out of safe space where she's not sure anymore, she horizon scans again. It's a state called hypervigilance, and it's brought on by stress. And if we're stressed all the time, we're hypervigilant. So we're constantly scanning the horizon. When what we need to do is scan the horizon, our metaphoric horizon, not Kathy's, that's the dog, not her horizon, where she's just making sure the physical space is safe so she can get to sniffing for a while and then she can check the physical space again. We need a horizon scan. Make sure all our ducks are in a row. Another David Allen phrase. Make sure all our ducks are in a row so everything's sorted, so we haven't left anything to chance. And then we can go, right, okay, deep work tunnel. Let's get into this deep work tunnel. In this hour of this day, let's get into this deep work tunnel and do this piece of work without thinking about anything else. Now, that's really difficult. We're dopamine addicted. In the modern world we live in, we are dopamine addicted. The whole infrastructure that capitalism has created around us has us addicted to the short-term buzz that dopamine gives us. The Facebook post, the instant gratification that comes from listening to a bit of music somebody's just told us about. We don't have that weight anymore. We don't have that kind of, right, I'll have to go and get that album. I'll have to wait till that thing comes on the telly. I'll have to save up for this thing. We just get it, don't we? Credits, freely available. And I'm talking long term here. I know it's different and difficult at the minute, but over the course of the last 40 years, 50 years, credit easily available. Things easily available to us now, particularly in terms of all these things we access. Amazon. I need that book now. Oh, this is the trap I fall into. I need that book now. Get it delivered. It's here the next day. I see a book on the afternoon. It's here the next morning. Dopamine addicted, which means we find it quite difficult to focus. And the only way we can focus is by leaving all that stuff, parking all that stuff somewhere, and leaving it safe so we can get on to the task that we've got. Get into that deep work tunnel. Deep work tunnels. A lot of this depends on your makeup. The literature would probably say 45 minutes to an hour is as long as you can focus on a particular task before you need a little rest. A rest, decompress, take yourself away from the tasks, have 5 minutes where you're not thinking about work or the tasks, and then come back to the tasks. I tend to find I can go a bit longer than that, and I like to get my head into tasks, and I'm happy to engage in something for a couple of hours. Not everybody's like that, but I think that's something that I've developed. I think I used to be probably a 45-minute or an hour, and now I kind of feel I think I've educated my psyche, I suppose, to think, right, okay, I'm going to get into this and I'm going to keep going until it's finished. That's one of the other things. When you watch the 100-meter runners, they run through the line, don't they? They don't run till they're nearly at the line and then slow down. And one of the problems sometimes when we're doing a task is we can see that the task is nearly finished, so we start to slow down instead of powering on through the line. Anyway, some of that's not what I was going to talk about today. Today's all there is what I call today's live podcast. Today is all there is, because while I'm not a Buddhist, I'm not religious in any particular way, I do think there's something in a lot of the Buddhist philosophy that helps us think about how we should try and live in this modern world, about how we shouldn't live in the modern world, maybe. And Buddhism would say that, this moment even, I'm going to open that out to this day, but this moment is all you've got. This is it. The past's gone. It's not worth ruminating on the past because it's gone. What's the point? There's a little bit in me says, we need to have a bit of a reflection on it and learn from it, but don't ruminate on it. Have a reflect on the past. Figure out what you're learning from it. I talked about this on Friday. Have a look at it. Either dismiss it because you couldn't have controlled it any better, or think, well, I could have controlled that better. Next time I'll do this, that, the other. But then don't ruminate on it. There's no point in keep going back to that time where I got that thing wrong. Oh, it wasn't that awful. And you feel it, don't you, physiologically? That still happens to me, even though I desperately try not to do it. I go back to things that happened to me as a teenager even, and I feel the emotions again, So we need to try not to do that, not ruminate on those things. And now when those things pop into my head, I dismiss them as quickly as possible and think, that's dealt with, it's gone. The people involved in those things will have forgotten about it years ago. And there's no point in ruminating. And the word here is ruminating, because I do talk about planning. I do talk about bringing the future into the present to do something about it. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. I'm saying we shouldn't ruminate on the future. Like, oh, what's going to happen when I get to Thursday, because Thursday looks a dreadful day, and what's going to happen, and how am I going to get all them things done, and how am I going to get the stuff done at the weekend that I need to do, because there's so much to do, and what have you. It's all those kind of things, and we do that. I do that as well. So it's about trying to say, well, you know what I mean, right? Let's have a look at what the weekend is. Let's have a look at what Thursday is, and let's plan it. Let's figure out what we're going to do with it. Let's figure out how we're going to give Thursday or the weekend or next week our best shot. So when we're in today, we focus on today, and the routine is absolutely everything with the way we go about our business. Routine, the power of routine is it means we apply as little cognitive energy as possible to moving through the tasks, leaving all of our cognitive energy to deal with the tasks. Okay, so routine is so important day in, day out. And my routine is, I have a few routines, and they flex and they move and they reshape, but I do, broadly speaking, similar sorts of things day in, day out. Like, I'll give you an example. The Morning Miracle. What's the guy who wrote The Morning Miracle? Let's have a quick look at that. I can't remember his name. I can remember what I think it is, but I want to get it right. The Morning Miracle by Hal Elrod. I was going to call him L. Halrod, so I'm pleased I looked that up. The Morning Miracle, the Miracle Morning, the 6 habits that will transform your life before 8 a.m. Hal Elrod. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly what he says. You can go and read the book, but he certainly says that the way we start ourselves up for the day is really important, because you don't get in your car, start the engine up and floor it and go at 70 miles an hour straight away, do you? You start the engine up, you rev it a bit, get it going, you know what I mean? You rev it a little bit, you make sure you've cleaned the windscreens, you sort everything out, you put your seatbelt on, and you put it into first gear, and you move away slowly. And then you may be driving off your estate you live on or whatever, and you go into second gear and maybe third gear, and then you get out onto the A roads, and then you get onto the motorway, and you speed up gradually. And he says this, and there's a couple of things that I've picked up from that, that I do, that I've mentioned before. Every morning has to have some input, and every morning has to have some output. I have to take something in and give something out. And this is my giving out, and the blogging's my giving out, or sometimes I take notes from a book or whatever. That's my output. My input is I get up on a morning and I read. And I know this is some of you won't have this luxury. I get that. But you could listen to music while you're preparing, getting the kids ready for school, or you could, there are things you can do that where you take some stuff in. So I read, and one of the things that he says in the book, and I've heard other commentators say, is do not pick your smartphone up straight away, because the smartphone creates this hive mindset where we're ducking and diving into this and that and into the other. We read differently, we process information differently when we're on our smartphones, and that's okay. That's okay in its place. But first thing in the morning is not that place. So read a book, something linear. Worst case scenario, and I sometimes do this, is go into a news app and read the news on your phone, but read it in a linear fashion. Read the article start to finish. Don't think that headline was interesting, let's have a look at Facebook. That Facebook was interesting, let's have a look at Twitter. Blah, blah, blah. Dodging about all over the place, mindlessly scrolling. Don't do that. And then he says you've got to physically prepare yourself for the day. So I tend most days to do some stretching. Sometimes it's only 2 or 3 minutes. Sometimes it's half an hour. It depends what I've got. So I've got the input, I've got the output. That's stimulating my brain. I've got the physical side of it as well, with some stretching. And then I have breakfast and drink coffee and walk the dog and all that kind of stuff. Getting outside on a morning daily is really good. Getting outside on a morning activates the chemical, biological process that leads, hopefully, to a good night's sleep. Starts on a morning, triggering a chemical process that will track through your whole day, resulting in you going to sleep on a night. It's very important to get outside on a morning. Look up and out, look at the sky. Get that sunlight on your face and into your eyes. It triggers biological chemical reactions. Really important. And then 15 minutes in already, do you know what I mean? And I haven't really got to the point yet. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do more on an individual day next time. So I'm going to leave it there for now, because 15 minutes of me is enough for anybody, quite frankly. So the first part, next time I'll talk about the working day, but it's important how you start yourself up on a morning. It's important to introduce yourself to the day as gradually as you possibly can. And um, in the Miracle Morning book, or the Morning Miracle book, what was it again? The Morning Miracle book, Hal Elrod, he talks about having an hour. Unrealistic, I feel. But what he also says is if you've not got an hour, do the same things with what time you have. So let's say you can find 10 minutes. Let's say you can't find 10 minutes, but you decide to get up 10 minutes earlier. Not a big ask. Not a big ask. In 10 minutes, you could read a page of a book, do some stretching, and make some notes from that book. You know, you don't have to do the output thing. You know, he talks about journaling as being really important. So what you could do is you could grab your diary and you could write some notes about yesterday. You could do some stretching and you could read a page of a book. You could do that in 10 minutes. You could probably do that in 5 minutes. And that just introduces you to the day gradually. And I guarantee, I do this. I think, oh, I've only got 5 minutes. I'll just quickly do these things. And quarter of an hour, 20 minutes later, I'm still doing them. And actually, the day still pans out all right. So I think we sometimes think we've got less time than we have. Could be wrong there for some of you, but I think that could be the case. So think about how you introduce yourself to the day. And also at the other end of the day, think about how you, exit the day as well. How do you exit the day? Do you crash out of your day? Do you work all the way up to bedtime and then go to bed? If you are, you're probably then wide awake because your mind's too active. We've got to switch off gradually. And, things like watching telly or doing something that's stimulating your brain is not the best. Again, reading's really good. Linear reading, not your phone, is really good. And preparing yourself maybe with some, meditation and that kind of thing. Lots of stuff written about that, the importance of meditation and switching off at the end of the day to help you with sleep. So I'm going to leave it there. That's kind of part 1 of 2, I suppose, then, isn't it? Because the thing I was going to get to, had I not digressed many times in other directions, the thing I was going to get to was thinking about our working day in a 9 to 5 kind of format. So I'll do that. I'll do it on Friday, hopefully. I've got a busy day Friday. But yeah, I could make it, I think. If not, it'll be Monday, but we'll do it. I'll talk about part 2 of Today's All There Is next time I join you. Okay, take care. Lovely to talk to you. Have nice days. Always a pleasure to chat around to you.